Hello. This is Metallurgic Gaming, and before we get into this here video, I want to mention that when I reach 25 subscribers, I'm going to be giving away a copy of Cluster Truck to one lucky viewer. So subscribe if you want a chance at that giveaway. Well, let's get on to the main topic. Today is kind of a little off video. I don't really know what I'm going to call this. It's like a news/opinions type thing that I want to do. There's some topics I've been wanting to talk about, and I thought this would be a reasonable format to do it. So, the things I'm going to talk about in this video are my opinions on adding a first-person only mode to PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, Firefall officially closing its doors, and the ARK news regarding their price increase as they move closer to release. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, the new hit early access success. It's all sunshine, rainbows, and perfection, right? Well, not in my opinion. I think the game is in desperate need of an officially supported first-person mode. I have a few reasons to justify my opinion on this one. Firstly, I think it would lead to much more tactical, much slower gameplay, because you can't have all the information in the world just by peeking your head around a corner, seeing things that you really shouldn't be able to. This leads to basically unwinnable situations for certain players because your opponents can keep track of where you are without exposing anything, so they could know your exact positioning, your movement, weapons you have, everything, and you don't even know they're there because they're peeking around a corner with a third-person camera. My second reason is, in my experience, playing first-person only is infinitely more fun than third-person. It adds certain tension and complexity to it where you can't just rely on the third-person camera as a crutch. You have to think about your movements, you have to think about your angles, you have to constantly be looking around. And in my opinion, I feel like this adds a deeper level to the game that the third-person camera does not allow. You just play the game completely differently when the only thing you can see is what your character can really see. Another interesting reason to add it is because the third-person camera doesn't really make much sense in my opinion. Like, I know Arma did it because they believe it compensates for the actual FOV a real person has in combat or whatever, which I guess, but the fact that you can see over walls and around corners definitely takes away any realism points that the increased FOV adds. And my last reason for wanting the first-person only mode is that it's kind of a shame how much effort they put into the first-person camera. Like, all the animations seem to work properly and everything looks good in first person, but it's so rarely used. You never really see the reload animations or anything from the first-person perspective, because the only time you're in first person is to aim down sights because you want to be in the third-person mode, gathering as much information as possible. And I guess it's weird that they haven't already added it. I know it's an option for the PUBG partners in their custom games, and that just baffles me more why it's not an actual game mode. The player base can support it and all that, so I don't see any downsides to adding it. Just adding more options to the game seems good. All in all, I think it should be in the game. Baffles me that it isn't, and I think the game would improve because of it. Alright, the next thing I want to talk about is one of my favorite games for a while, Firefall. Finally decided it was enough and closing down the servers, everything's closing up, no more Firefall. I know this probably only really matters for me because it was probably one of the last people who actually cared about it. I mean, I stopped playing it towards the end there because it was just a buggy mess and everyone was laid off and all that. I'm not going to get into that. It's just a shame to see it go. It was a unique game, had a fun player base and a interesting concept that didn't really see the light of day. So I'm just more sad that it's gone and no chance for it to make a triumphant return with new employees or anything, which nobody really expected anyway. But there's hope. There are similar games that are in development. I know of Ember, the procedurally funded spiritual successor that the original CEO is trying to do. It just got through the third or second phase of funding. I can't remember which right now, but it's looking pretty good. Like, it probably is going to end up being funded, and it's going to have his original vision that they abandoned so long ago. So that's what I'm looking forward to I mean, it's not the only game that kind of looks like it. Destiny kind of has that vibe, but not really. And Anthem looks very similar to what it originally wanted to do, so we'll have to see with those two games if it's even anywhere close. I don't know myself. Also, one other piece of news coming out of their announcement is that they are still working on a mobile version of Firefall, which is interesting to say the least. I don't know what's gonna come out of that, so I guess I'll keep my eye out, and if there's any news on that, I'll keep you guys informed. Also, one other thing, the subreddit for Firefall has been locked recently, so you can't create new threads there, which kind of, from what the discussion seems, pretty dumb decision. Like, there are other dead games that the subreddit isn't locked, but I mean, I guess it makes sense. There wasn't much activity anyway, since the game was dying and is now officially dead, so I see both sides of the argument. I'm just kind of sad because it was also like a little forum for people to talk about their memories in Firefall and games they find similar to it. So, oh well, life moves on. I'll be playing other games. It's just tough to see it end like this. It wasn't really the most graceful deaths ever for a video game. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Firefall finally kicking the bucket. So, the last thing I want to talk about is Ark and their interesting decision to increase the game's price to $60 before their official release. A lot of people are pretty miffed about this, and that's pretty understandable from a guy who's bought it when it was around $25 and has played the absolute crap out of it. I don't even want to know what my hours are in that game, but I digress. The real issue here is that $60 seems like a ton for Ark. I mean, I got a lot of enjoyment out of the game, but man, I can't see myself ever paying that much for Ark, even its completed most content state. I don't know. In my personal opinion, I feel like $40 is still a decent amount, but not in a lot for the amount of content that this game offers. I know their reason is to have parity with their console releases price, but I don't see why that can't also be $40. $40 seems like a reasonable price, and I'm sure console players have spent $40 on a game. This just doesn't seem right. It's not like a AAA. It's just Ark. It's not Call of Duty, you know? I don't know. That's my opinion. I think 40 is much more reasonable. All I know is the guy behind the DayZ mod is not happy about it. He's been taken to Twitter and calling out Ark for their decision. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, that's my short opinion on the Ark price increase. Well, I don't know really what to call this, but that's the end of my video on various opinions and news that are going on in the gaming industry right now. So, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Hey, if you enjoyed the video, why not like, comment, or subscribe if you think I deserve it. Also, constructive criticism is always helpful. And if you want to see my most recent video, you can click the annotation right here. Thanks for watching.